At exactly 2:17 a.m., inside the U.S. Naval Observatory's atomic clock room, the monitors flickered for half a second. One UTC display jumped 14 seconds ahead of the synchronized array. William was alone on the overnight shift. He saw the anomalous reading and froze.
No external clock should drift like that. Not by seconds.
He tapped into the classified master clock log, a hidden partition few technicians accessed.
The drift curve was accelerating. The mathematicians had flagged it decades ago.
The classified projection showed a rise. By 2030, the master clock would diverge by exactly 1 second. From the sealed inner chamber at the rear, a low electronic hum began, not the usual frequency.
That room has its own technicians. We are not allowed to interact with them.
William stared at the sealed door. Something was very wrong, and he was going to find out. But first, he had to understand the rules, all 6 of them. The following morning, a silent technician from the inner chamber passed William in the corridor.
They never look at us. It's like we're not in the same building.
In the break room, Thompson studied William's face.
Something's wrong. You look like you've seen a ghost.
Rule 1. The inner chamber master clock has its own technicians. Do not interact with them. Rule 2. It has run continuously since 1955. No resets, no references. Rule 3. All external time signals come from the outer clocks, not from the master clock. Rule 4. The drift is classified as a scientific anomaly. You will not discuss it outside.
Drift? What are you talking about? I've never heard of any drift.
I've read the classified memos. The curve bends upward. By 2030, it hits a full second. The mathematicians won't speculate further.
William retrieved a folded printout from his desk. The mathematician's internal memo, stamped scientific anomaly. The memo: drift will reach 1.000000 seconds by 2030. Further speculation not authorized.
Not authorized. They know what happens at 1 second, and they're too scared to write it down.
He carried the memo to the division supervisor's office.
He didn't raise his voice, just told me the inner chamber was classified above my pay grade and to put the memo back. He made it clear, drop it or lose your clearance. No third option, no third option.
Walking back, William noticed a security camera pivoting, following him.
They're watching. They've always been watching. I am on a list now.
The memo burned in his pocket like a countdown. 1 second, an irreversible deadline.
I need to find out what that second actually means, before it's too late.
He tried to reach Frank, the former head of the inner program, but the line rang into a void.
The number's dead. They've silenced him too, or he's hiding from something worse than me.
Back in his apartment, the wall clock above the kitchenette had fallen 7 seconds behind.
My phone shows the correct network time. The clock is losing exactly 7 seconds, the same anomaly as the outer clocks. That's not a clock error. That's the universe slowing down around me.
He reset the clock, syncing it to his phone. Within the hour, the gap returned.
Rule 6. The mathematicians refuse to speculate. They know. They've always known.
He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the climbing seconds, each one heavier than the last.
The 6 rules were never just protocol. They were containment for a truth too big to hold. I have to find the one person who knows what happens at 1 second, before the rest of the world notices.
After days of dead air, William finally reached Frank on an old landline number.
You shouldn't have called, but meet me at my home. There are things you need to understand.
The fear in his voice was unmistakable. He was more afraid than I am.
In the days that followed, William buried himself in data. He cross-referenced every outer chamber clock. The drift was not linear. The graph showed an exponential curve, impossibly smooth. No instrument error could mimic that.
Gravitational time dilation, computed out. Relativistic frame dragging, negligible. Cosmic ray bit flips, the error would be random, not exponential.
He eliminated each explanation, and with each elimination, the truth grew heavier.
What about equipment failure? The chamber is redundant, sealed. A failing clock should drift randomly, not consistently forward.
The only remaining conclusion was the one that refused to make logical sense.
The drift is real. It's not a malfunction, and Frank is the only one who can tell me why.
Thompson cornered William in the break room. His questions had sharpened into something more urgent.
What is really inside that sealed chamber? You've been acting strange ever since you mentioned the drift.
Rule 5. The drift is 47 nanoseconds per decade. It's accelerating faster each year. Rule 6. The mathematicians project it will reach 1.0 seconds, and they won't speculate beyond that.
1 second? That's an atomic clock. William, that's terrifying. And you are terrified.
I almost told him the deadline is 2030, but the words caught in my throat.
You are scared, William. Whatever's in that room, it's got you. And that scares me more.
I can't explain it all, not yet. There's someone I need to meet first.
They stood before the sealed master clock door. The red LED blinked a steady, patient rhythm.
I have to reach Frank. I have to know what that second will cost us.
William found an unmarked envelope on his desk the next morning. Inside, a thin classified file, decades old, a typewritten header. Project Tempus Aeternus, Inner Chamber Baseline Study. The first page held a photograph. The 1955 installation team, standing in a ring around the newly sealed master clock chamber. Their faces were not proud. They looked like men attending a funeral.
They look like they're burying something, not celebrating a scientific achievement.
He turned the page and read aloud, chamber designed for environmental invariance, including potential temporal isolation.
Temporal isolation, they built it to keep something out, or to keep something in.
The file was unsigned, unclassified now, but the paper was brittle and yellowed.
Someone wanted me to see this, but who and why now? This proves the observatory knew more than a simple drift. They were preparing for a different kind of time.
The drive to Frank's suburban home felt wrong. Every red light stretched seconds longer than it should.
Time is dragging. It's not just the clocks. The world is already running slow.
Frank was already waiting on the porch, a thin figure in a worn cardigan. He stood slowly, as if each movement cost him.
You came. I wasn't sure if you would.
His voice was hoarse, like a man who'd been silent for years.
Inside, the house was dim. A bottle of wine stood open on a dark wood table, 2 glasses beside it.
Sit down. We'll need a drink before I say anything.
The clink of glasses rang too loud in the silence, as if the house itself was listening.
He's afraid. Whatever he knows, it's been eating him alive.
The pleasantries died. Frank set down his glass and finally met William's eyes. Frank began to speak, his voice low and measured, as if reciting a story he'd rehearsed in the dark too many times.
We first noticed a discrepancy in 1963. Half a nanosecond. Dismissed as measurement error.
Half a nanosecond. They've been hiding this for over 60 years.
By 1994, the drift was undeniable. The outer clocks were lagging behind. Each decade, the gap widened. That's when we realized the master clock wasn't fast. Everything outside was slowing.
Slow. You mean the entire planet is running slow?
Frank's eyes dropped to the table. The silence stretched like the missing seconds had stretched, an endless chasm.
The master clock isn't drifting at all. It's the only clock still holding true time.
We've confirmed it. But when the drift hits 1 second...
What? What happens at 1 second? You have to tell me.
Frank reached for the wine. His hand trembled so hard that the bottle clinked against the glass. Again and again, filling the silence, he took a long drink. The clock on the wall clicked, its rhythm slightly off, a metronome for a dying orchestra.
The silence is worse than any confession. It's a verdict waiting to be read.
The master clock is not malfunctioning.
He set the glass down carefully, as if the next words might shatter it.
Then, what is it, Frank? What's happening to time?
The outer clocks aren't losing time. Time itself is.
Frank's voice broke. He stared at the wall clock, its second hand dragging slower than any clock should move. The room grew cold. The lamp flickered once, twice, and for a heartbeat, the shadows swallowed them both. Frank closed his eyes, and in the dark, He whispered the truth that the observatory had buried in concrete and silence.
The master clock preserves the original flow of time. The universe outside is slowing down.
The words hung in the air like a final diagnosis. William felt the floor tilt beneath his chair.
Every decade, the gap widens. By 2030, it will reach exactly 1 full second.
1 second. The deadline I saw in the classified memos. It's not a malfunction. It's a countdown to what?
The mathematicians fear that when the drift hits 1 second, the truth becomes impossible to hide.
The wall clock ticked slower, its second hand dragging as if pulled by a weight no one could see.
The 6 rules were never about equipment malfunction. They were containment for a dying universe.
Frank poured the last of the wine. His hand no longer trembled. The truth had steadied him.
What happens when it reaches 1 second? What does the observatory think will happen?
Frank stared at the warped clock. The question echoed into a silence that had no floor.
The drift is accelerating. When it reaches 1 second, the divergence will be a full second per decade.
The wall clock's second hand stuttered, then resumed its crawl, a silent witness to the unraveling of time.
My personal fear is that the universe is winding down, that time itself is dying. Eventually, it will stop.
He's not guessing. He's been carrying this for 30 years. The universe is dying, and no one knows.
The observatory plans to re-baseline UTC. Match it to the outer clocks. The master clock will be retired, sealed.
The wine bottle stood empty, a dead soldier on the dark wood. The room felt smaller, tighter, as if the slowing time was pressing in.
And the master clock? What happens to the original time?
It will keep ticking, sealed, unobserved, the last device on Earth still measuring true seconds. A ghost of 1955.
William watched the weight of that knowledge settle on Frank's shoulders and felt it transfer, a cold inheritance, to his own.
I will have to carry this alone. No one can know, not Thompson, not anyone.
William returned to his apartment in a fog. The wall clock still lagged 7 seconds behind his phone, mocking any attempt at normalcy.
A simple meal felt like an hour. Time was dragging or my mind was breaking. A 3-minute song stretched to 5. The clock wasn't the only liar.
He tried to sleep. Frank's words echoed. The universe is winding down.
I dreamed of the master clock ticking alone in the dark, hands moving at the old world speed.
He woke, gasping, the alarm clock's red LED blinking like the master chamber's distant pulse.
Are these perceptions real, or am I losing my mind?
He stared at his reflection in the dark window. The man in the glass looked older.
If I can feel the slowdown now, what will 2030 feel like?
The apartment settled into a sick, slow silence. He began to understand what it meant to outlive time. At the observatory, the days blurred. William moved through his shifts like a ghost, the hum of the clocks now a dirge.
You are not sleeping. You are barely speaking. What did that man tell you?
This secret is a poison. If I tell him, he'll be targeted too.
He opened his mouth to share the burden, then closed it. The weight was his alone. That night, alone at his desk, he drafted a letter to a journal. The first paragraph outlined the drift. By the third, his hand was shaking.
If I release this, the world panics. If I don't, the rebaselining buries the truth forever.
He read the letter once, then deleted it. Each keystroke a small surrender. The cursor blinked on a blank page. The silence of the empty clock room seemed to mock him.
There's no whistle to blow. Who do you warn about a dying universe?
He sealed the secret back inside, where it would gnaw like a cold clock ticking in his chest. The signs were subtle, but unmistakable. Fewer inner chamber technicians, supply crates sealed and rolled away.
The observatory is mothballing the entire program, erasing the master clock's existence.
That evening, he walked the empty corridor alone, the fluorescent lights humming their low dirge. He reached the master clock door. The porthole showed only darkness, save for a single red heartbeat.
The original time, still alive in there, carrying on since 1955. Soon, No one will remember what a real second felt like, or that time was once constant.
He pressed his palm to the cold steel, feeling the faint vibration of the cesium fountain within.
I will be its witness. When the world adjusts its clocks, I'll carry the memory.
He walked away, the red LED shrinking in the darkness behind him, a lone sentinel of a forgotten rhythm. From that night, he began to document the truth, a secret witness to the slowing of the universe. The years passed in a slow-motion blur. William's journal filled with dates, each entry a calculation of the growing gap.
2030 was no longer a distant threshold. It was a countdown I could feel in my bones.
Thompson stopped asking. The distance between them had hardened into silence. One December evening, a package arrived at his door. No return address. The handwriting was unsteady. Inside, a single brass key and a note written in Frank's familiar, trembling script. The note. For when it's time. No signature, but William knew.
Frank is gone. This key is his final confession. He wants me to open the chamber when the moment arrives.
The key was cold, heavy. He held it up to the light, the metal glinting like a question.
I don't know what that moment is. The rebaselining, the 1 second mark.
He placed the key in his journal, next to the graph of the drift. The countdown had a new symbol. A summons came from the administration wing. No subject line, only a room number. The figure behind the desk was shadowed, face unseen. The terms were cold. Surrender the key, sign the final agreement.
Surrender Frank's key, or lose everything. Those are my options.
He did not speak. He simply stood, reached into his pocket, and felt the cold brass against his fingers.
The key stays with me. I'll sign nothing.
He turned his back on the desk and walked out. The silence behind him was the sound of a career ending.
Without the observatory, I am nobody, but they can't erase the truth.
He left his badge on a console. The key stayed in his pocket, a quiet act of treason. He walked the long corridor one last time, the hum of the outer clocks fading behind him.
I don't know when it's time, but I'll be ready.
In late 2029, a news bulletin cut into the evening broadcast. A calm anchor delivered the script. Coordinated universal time will be adjusted by 0.7 seconds to align with updated celestial parameters.
Frank's prediction wrapped in bureaucratic language. The rebaselining is happening.
He drove to the observatory one last time. The gates were unguarded, the parking lot empty. Workers in white coveralls were removing the outer clock labels, replacing them with generic markers. Through a window, he saw the master clock door open for the first time. Technicians ushering out a final equipment cart. Minutes later, a concrete mixer arrived. Wet cement poured into the chamber's outer frame, sealing the door forever. The concrete smoothed into a gray seal. The master clock was now a tomb.
The old time is officially gone. The world will run on slipping seconds now, and I am the only one who remembers.
He slipped the key back into his pocket. There was nothing left to open. The master clock was now a ghost, ticking in a world that had forgotten it. Months after the rebaselining, William returned to the observatory at night. The decommissioned wing unlocked and silent, he navigated the dark corridors by memory, the hum of the outer clocks long gone. The master clock door was a gray slab of concrete now, the porthole black.
I still have the key, but there's nothing left to unlock.
He pressed his palm to the cold concrete and felt a faint, steady vibration deep within.
The master clock is still running. It's still keeping 1955 time, alone in the dark.
He stood there, key in hand, listening to a silence that was not complete.
Time is still splitting. Every second that passes out here, a little more is lost inside there.
He didn't try to open the door. There was no undoing the concrete, and no need.
I don't need to see it. I know it's there. That's enough.
Years later, gray-haired William unfolded a declassified report, the first public acknowledgement that the adjustments had never stopped. The report: annual UTC resynchronizations required. Measured deceleration exceeds prior models.
They've admitted it. The slowdown is accelerating. My math was always right.
He did the calculations on the margin of the report. By the time his grandchildren were old, the drift would be minutes per day.
Minutes, not nanoseconds. The world will feel it. A day longer than a day. A minute stretched thin.
The sealed master clock, behind its concrete slab, would soon be the last place on Earth where a second was still a real second.
Frank was right. The universe is winding down. I won't live to see the stop, but they will.
He closed the report. The room fell into the slow, heavy silence of a world whose seconds were already longer than they used to be.
All I can do is remember and keep the key.
The master clock ticked alone, sealed in its concrete tomb, the last witness to the true rhythm of a universe that had forgotten its own heartbeat. An elderly William sat in his armchair, the photo of the old observatory on the side table. He no longer wore a watch. The brass key hung beside the photo, a silent talisman of a truth no one else remembered.
The world has already forgotten, but the key is still warm.
The afternoon light stretched impossibly long through the window, a slow crawl that no clock could measure.
It's still ticking.
He closed his eyes. The key glinted once, catching the dying light. The warped clock on the wall continued its slow decay, but in the silence, another rhythm endured. William would not live to see time stop, but he had already outlived its beginning, and somewhere, deep under concrete, the master clock ticked on, keeping the seconds the world had left behind. A ghost of 1955. A heartbeat that would never forget. The camera cut to the sealed master clock chamber, deep in the abandoned wing, where the darkness was complete. A low hum emanated from the concrete seal, the only sign that something still lived inside. Through a hairline crack, the red LED blinked, patient, eternal, unbroken. From the air, a recorded voice echoed, Williams speaking words that had become a prayer.
The master clock keeps the time we left behind.
The concrete held firm, but the hum vibrated through the floor like a second pulse.
And it will never stop.
The camera pulled back. The red glow shrank to a pinpoint in the vast darkness. The hum rose, a low note that seemed to resonate with the slowing seconds of the outside world. And the master clock ticked on, the last sentinel of a time that had once been constant.